The Frost Monarch quickly looked behind the human. As he expected, the Shadow Monarch's ship was gone. Now the Frost Monarch understood what the Fang Monarch had said before. The magical energy in the air was shaking because of a very powerful being appearing. Igris turned around, knelt respectfully, and bowed his head. Skrastala. Baru had arrived at the same time as Igris. He shouted loudly to announce their leader was back and knelt down. Jinwoo walked forward between the two soldiers. He looked at all the damage before turning to the Frost Monarch. Did the monster escape? The Frost Monarch didn't answer. He finally understood why the Fang Monarch had been so scared when he saw the real Shadow Monarch. Even though he was the king of ice and cold, the Frost Monarch was shaking. Jinwoo looked worried. I didn't let this happen. The Frost Monarch was confused. What do you mean? I didn't allow him to go. What are you talking about? Jinwoo didn't answer the confused Frost Monarch. He closed his eyes and tried to find the Fang Monarch by looking for his special magical energy all over South Korea. He was sure he could find the Fang Monarch if he stayed on Earth and didn't search in other worlds. Finally he had success and found the Fang Monarch's hiding place. Jinwoo opened his eyes and smiled. I found you. Jinwoo tried very hard to find the monster. The Frost Monarch saw a chance to attack. This was his only opportunity. Even though Jinwoo was much stronger, he wasn't being careful enough with his enemy. If he missed this chance he would surely be defeated. It was his final attempt to escape danger. He had to end the fight quickly. He pulled back his right arm, gathering energy, and created the strongest ice spear he possibly could. The monarch put all his strength into making the spear. The ground around him froze and started to break. Then, when the ice spear in his hand was incredibly large, he threw it through the air very quickly. It whistled as it flew. At the same time, his ice soldiers rushed at Jinwoo like a group of angry dogs. They moved quickly. Just before the ice spear hit Jinwoo's face, he opened his eyes. I found you. Everything seemed to stop, as if someone had paused the video. Everything seemed to slow down, almost as if time had stopped. A spear made of ice was moving forward, but it was very slow. Jinwoo could see the Frost Monarch looking at him with a lot of anger. He could also clearly see all the ice soldiers moving around him. This is how the Shadow Monarch saw things when he was fighting a battle. His mind worked much faster than anyone else's, so everything around him seemed to stop. Jinwoo looked around calmly as if the whole world was pausing. He had felt this feeling before. When was it? Jinwoo slowly remembered when he almost died, fighting the stone statues. Everything felt much slower for him back then too. The Shadow Monarch was already with me. Jinwoo was beginning to realize how long the Shadow Monarch had been watching him as he gained more power. When he looked around he saw his two strongest fighters. While everyone else seemed stuck in time, Baru and Igris were slowly fighting back against the enemy's attacks. It showed how incredibly quick and skilled they were. Looking at them with pride, Jinwoo then remembered the spear that had been thrown at him. He recalled it suddenly. The spear moved slowly forward, like an insect flying through the air. Jinwoo used his special power to halt the spear's progress. It was called Ruler's Authority. Of all his abilities, this was the one he practiced most often. As soon as Ruler's Authority began to work, magical energy surrounded the ice spear and stopped it right away. Jinwoo was very surprised as he finally understood how Ruler's Authority worked. It wasn't an invisible force, instead it was magical energy that was too fast to see, controlled by the user's will. That was amazing. When he focused with all his might, he could feel every bit of magical energy around him. His eyes shone with happiness. This was a gift from the leaders to make the world stronger. Before this, the world didn't have any magical energy, but now it had plenty. And with the Shadow Monarch's power, Jinwoo could control it all. His heart beat faster as he felt the magical energy all around him. Let's see if this works. Jinwoo walked over to his two helpers, and put a hand on each of their shoulders. You two don't need to do anything right now. Baru and Igris quickly stopped what they were doing when Jinwoo told them to. He then walked past them. He had practiced controlling his power whenever he could. Now he could control his energy very well. Jinwoo took a deep breath and looked at the ice soldiers. He was thankful for the Shadow Monarch and everything he had taught him through the system. He focused all his energy and gathered the power around him. The whole place seemed to tremble. A deep humming sound filled the air. It only took a moment for the strong wave of energy Jinwoo released to destroy the many ice soldiers. The Frost Monarch felt the powerful energy coming toward him. He quickly tried to make a wall of ice to shield himself. When the Frost Monarch turned off the shield, he saw what was left of his ice soldiers scattered around. The strong magical force had destroyed everything, even the snowstorms he had created. This showed the power of the Shadow Monarch, who was also known as the greatest piece of luminosity, and one of the two most powerful kings. How could this happen? The Frost Monarch was shaking with fear. The Shadow Monarch was a powerful opponent the Frost Monarch could not defeat. Jinwoo was pleased with how things were going and looked at the scared Frost Monarch. Even from far away, Jinwoo could tell the Frost Monarch was shaking with fear. He hadn't forgotten about the Ice Elf and still needed to deal with a problem involving her. Jinwoo's face became serious as he thought about President Go, who had passed away, and he made a decision about what to do. He would deal with this person last, and let them worry about what was coming. You will be last, Jinwoo said as he quietly moved into the darkness around him. Wait here while I go after that monster. President Jin Shulwo hit his fist on the desk when the television signal stopped. Bang! The last thing they showed was Jinwoo falling to the ground after losing. He was very upset. If this desk hadn't belonged to the previous President Go, Jinshul would have broken it. Jinshul's hands were shaking because he was so angry. The people who were with him in the president's office stayed quiet. The room became very silent. But Jinshul knew they didn't have time to waste. They needed to do something right away. Have any groups reached the area? Yes. All 5 main groups have arrived. Jinshul quickly stood up. The watch team must also go there. I will go too. It's too risky, sir. What does that matter right now? The people trying to stop him were speechless as he looked at them sternly. Korea had lost Jin Woo-sung, their best protector. This meant there was no safe place to fall back to. All the hunters needed to work as a team to stop the monsters, or things would be very bad. Jinshul quickly put on his jacket, and looked at a screen showing live video of what was happening. This camera kept pointing up at the huge gate over Seoul, always recording it. It made Jinshul stop and think. Perhaps Korea was already lost. He felt very sad. Even if they managed to defeat the monsters, the harm would be too much to fix. Could the other hunters manage such a large gate without Jinwoo? Thinking about the monsters in the city, and the enormous gate filled him with worry. But Jinshul was able to clear his head and think again. Even if everyone in Korea agreed about something, someone still had to fight in the battle. That's why hunters received their special abilities. Jinshul squeezed his lips together, and pushed away any gloomy thoughts. He was just about to leave when one of his assistants called out quickly, "President Wu, sir." Jinshul turned toward the big TV screen, where a reporter's voice announced important news. Our camera is working again. From what you could see, the camera was high up on top of a tall building far away, but that was okay. The snowstorm covering the area was starting to clear up because of something no one could explain. Jinshul quickly moved past the workers who had stood up to look at the screen. As the fog disappeared, they could see 5 people. There were 4 people and 1 bug. Jinshul immediately recognized the man standing near the bug. Hunter Jin Woo-sung, Jinshul shouted, and everyone cheered when they saw the broken pieces of the ice soldiers.
Yeah!
They thought he was defeated, but Jin Woo was not only alive, he was winning against the enemy. How could they hold back their feelings? Tears filled Jinshul's eyes. It looked like one enemy was still there. The creature that used ice seemed frozen with fear, as if it couldn't move its feet. People watching didn't know what had happened in the snowstorm, but things had changed. Jinshul knew everyone around the world was watching this moment. How would Jinwoo defeat the monster? Jinshul watched the screen, waiting to see. It seemed Jinwoo just talked to the monster before something strange happened. Jinwoo started to sink into the ground. The people who were hugging and cheering stopped when Jinwoo completely disappeared. The camera operator quickly turned around looking for Jinwoo, but couldn't find him anywhere. Jinshul looked confused and rubbed his chin as the president's office became quiet again. The Fang monarch was shaking with fear inside his hiding place in the jungle. He felt very trapped and wished he had left sooner. Spending time arguing with the powerful Frost Monarch had been a mistake. Earlier, when he hunted a man from Brazil, finding people had been simple for him. It was great to be able to move freely in this new place. He hadn't expected the Shadow Monarch to come here with such a terrible plan. It was surprising to find someone pretending to be the Shadow Monarch, but he wouldn't fight the real one. The power of the Monarch of Destruction was necessary to defeat the Shadow Monarch. There wasn't any other choice. I need to wait until the Dragon King gets here. The large beast was resting on a bed of leaves and branches. Many magical creatures, known to people as magic beasts, were nearby. These strong creatures acted as his protectors, but they behaved gently, like pets, and rubbed against his hand, as he touched them. His hand stopped moving, when he felt something unusual. What was that? The creature's fur stood up straight, because they sensed danger. The Fang monarch felt a chill, and everyone looked at the same place. His eyes became very narrow. The shadow of a tree nearby seemed to be shifting. The monarch smelled something like death, within his fort. He said quietly, "Is that?" Something was slowly coming up from the shaking shadow of the tree. Was it a person? No. Was it the shadow monarch? The beast couldn't figure out who he was facing, but all his senses told him this man felt just like the one who almost defeated him, a long time ago. Someone was here and they were very powerful. Did they follow me? The strongest beast trembled with fear, as Jinwoo stood up. Growl. The beast tried to protect their owner, showing their teeth and trying to scare Jinwoo. One of the creatures ran quickly toward him. It was a magical animal that looked like a wild cat, but it had 3 red eyes. It was a very fierce creature from a dangerous place. Roar. Many sharp teeth were visible in its mouth. Jinwoo wasn't scared as the powerful magic beast came near. Before Jinwoo would have prepared to fight, but now this beast wasn't a danger to him. Suddenly the Fang monarch jumped at the beast and smashed its head into the ground. He lifted his hand from the dirt as the large cat fell still. Why had he just hurt one of his own fighters? The leader of the cats lowered himself to the ground, showing he was yielding. As Jinwoo watched, he spoke with a trembling voice. "Great Shadow Monarch, I, the King of Beasts, do not want to fight you. Please excuse my mistakes and accept my help." His strong animal side took over. When you can't fight or run away, it's best to give in. The Fang monarch is like an animal, so he forgot about being proud. The Dragon King will come to this land with his army soon. When the time comes, my creatures and I will fight with you. He bent down as low as he could. A small cry escaped the wild creatures behind the king, as they froze in fear. These creatures cared about living above all else, so they were very afraid of dying. Jinwoo looked at the king of beasts, who had lowered his head. Okay, a smile appeared on the king's face. What a silly mistake. That person couldn't really be the powerful shadow monarch. If it was him, he wouldn't have been so easily tricked by someone who had already betrayed him, and even tried to ruin his second chance at life. The king of beasts was able to delay things because the human was too kind, and didn't understand what was happening. How could he agree to help the shadow monarch when he smelled someone who seemed like a target? He would act as if he was working with the shadow monarch until the monarch of destruction arrived. When that time came, he would tear the shadow monarch apart and eat him. He couldn't help but smile. "I promise my loyalty to the king of beasts," jumped back in fear when he met Jinwoo's cold stare, quickly moving far away from the shadow monarch. The beast's face turned white as Jinwoo said, "First we need to take care of what I am owed." The king of beasts asked, "Owed? So you're asking about what happened a long time ago?" Jinwoo remembered things from the shadow monarch's past. He knew that the Fang monarch and the monarch of White Lightning had once tried to go against the king of the dead. But this didn't affect Jinwoo at all. He took out a dagger from another world that the system called his inventory. It glowed as he pulled it out. He pointed to 5 places on his chest with one finger. "These are the places where your claws hurt me badly." He could still feel the pain very clearly. "If you can handle 5 attacks from me, I will forgive you." This meant the King of Beasts had to survive 5 wounds that would normally be deadly. The King of Beasts roared loudly as he understood the Shadow Monarch never meant to let him go free. "How dare you fool me? I am the King of Beasts." The King of Beasts changed into his true form and became a huge wolf. It was smaller than the Shadow Monarch remembered, but that was because this wasn't the wolf's original world. No matter how big or small, this powerful creature could destroy the entire earth. The angry wolf roared, "I might be defeated today, but I'm going to take you down with me." Suddenly, a cold wind blew against the wolf's face. He tried to watch where Jinwoo was going as the man disappeared. Jinwoo stopped behind the wolf and slowly turned around. "That's one." The wolf saw a very strong dark energy all around Jinwoo and gulped nervously. It was clear the person standing before him was really the Shadow Monarch. He moved exactly the same way. Something fell to the ground with a soft sound. The wolf couldn't look away. He glanced down and saw a large ear lying on the ground. Someone had placed a wolf's ear right at his feet. The Fang monarch quickly felt a lot of pain as blood poured from his injury. He clenched his teeth and looked up to see another dagger in Jinwoo's hand. Jinwoo held both Kamish's wrath daggers and prepared to finish the fight with the wolf. "That leaves 4, he said. The Frost Monarch was now completely surrounded. Jinwoo had put him in a difficult situation. Running away seemed like the best idea because he didn't think he could win this fight. But he looked at the 2 leaders of the Shadow Army. He wasn't even worried about the enemy who was helping the powerful creature. The remaining darkness was the real problem. Igris the Bloodred, a strong leader in the Shadow Army, watched the Frost Monarch carefully. People called him the Death Knight because he was a skilled warrior. He had fought in many battles and defeated many enemies while serving the Shadow Monarch. This enemy was the one the Frost Monarch had to be most careful of. This ice elf was very powerful, a leader like the Frost Monarch himself, not just a regular soldier. When at his strongest, the Frost Monarch should have been able to defeat both of the marshals easily. The problem was that the marshals could heal quickly. They would keep returning to fight as long as the Shadow Monarch had magical energy. This was bad news for the Frost Monarch, who was very tired after using his strongest form. Also, whenever they were attacked, it was like telling their leader what was happening, because all the Shadow soldiers were connected to the Shadow Monarch. Even if the Frost Monarch won against the generals, it would bring the Shadow Monarch here. The Frost Monarch had to stop that from happening, no matter what. Then he turned around to try and escape. Suddenly, Igris stepped in front of the monarch, blocking his way. The soldier shook his head, and gently touched the handle of his sword, letting the other creature know not to do anything reckless. Suddenly, the Frost Monarch turned around and faced the ant's strong jaws. The ant made a loud screeching sound. It had been helping to heal the arm of the newcomer. If he was here then, the monarch saw the healed newcomer walking toward him.
"You villains!"
The Frost Monarch shook with anger at the enemies around him. "How dare you!" The furious king's shout echoed across the land. The air started to get cold and dark clouds formed above. "How long do you think you can fight me?" Igris drew his sword, Baru showed his sharp claws, and the man in the robe held up a dagger. But before they could fight, the Frost Monarch felt something change in the air. He looked up and the others followed his gaze to see a shadow shaking. The Frost Monarch bit his lip. He needed more time. Jinwoo appeared from the shadows nearby. He was glad his special ability was ready to use again. The rules that had limited his power were gone. Jinwoo was able to quickly return to where he had been before. He looked at the Frost Monarch and threw something over. The Frost Monarch caught it and stared. "Is this?" It was a wolf's ear. There was only one wolf with an ear that big. "You mean you defeated the Fang Monarch while you were gone?" The surprised monarch shouted. Instead of answering, Jinwoo summoned his 2 daggers, just like he did with the King of Beasts. Warm blood fell from the Fang Monarch. The Frost Monarch shook as the strong man in front of him picked who he would fight next. 2 marshals and the man wearing the robe stepped back, when they saw a dark shadow appear around Jinwoo's shoulders. Jinwoo held the knives tightly in his hands. He had kept the enemy trapped in ice for a long time. Now it was time to get even. The Plague Monarch, the Fang Monarch, and the Frost Monarch. Their deaths would be a signal to all the other monarchs. When Jinwoo quickly moved toward him, the old ice elf rapidly made ice arrows to shoot at him. Even though they were made quickly, the magical arrows were created by a powerful being, so they were very dangerous. Strong enough to defeat a top-level hunter with just one hit. Many arrows flew toward Jinwoo. They whistled through the air. The Frost Monarch tried hard to stop Jinwoo from getting closer. He roared loudly, but Jinwoo's hands were quicker than the arrows. He didn't even slow down as he knocked the ice arrows away. The Frost Monarch roared again. Even with so many arrows flying, Jinwoo blocked them all, and reached the Frost Monarch. Suddenly Jinwoo pushed Kamish's wrath into the Frost Monarch's shoulder, right where he had stabbed him with a knife before. He did this to remind the Frost Monarch about the former President Go. The Frost Monarch looked up and yelled from the strong pain. The monarch quickly shot out cold energy from his mouth before Jinwoo could stab him with the second knife. But Jinwoo quickly covered his mouth with his hand. "Muff!" As the Frost Monarch struggled with the cold energy stuck in his mouth, Jinwoo stabbed the monarch in the chest with his knife. Crack! The Frost Monarch's ribs broke as his heart was pierced. It was similar to the attack Jinwoo had faced before. Arg. Having already defeated 2 other powerful monsters, Jinwoo believed this attack would defeat the Frost Monarch. The beast died on my 4th hit. Jinwoo's eyes shone. How many hits can you take? The frightened Frost Monarch looked into the eyes of the King of the Dead, a great warrior who had won many battles. The Frost Monarch finally understood who he had made angry, and he trembled with fear. Then the knife stuck in the monster's heart was pulled down, cutting his body in 2. Had the whole world ever celebrated together like this? When Jinwoo appeared and stabbed the Frost Monarch in the chest, everyone cheered and screamed with happiness. Hoo hoo hoo. It was the best thing that could have happened after they were so sad about seeing the most powerful hunter fall in battle against monsters. People shouted his name excitedly.